Trust love. It's a little challenging this week, huh? It was interesting this week. I've been sick. I had a cold. And so I had a lot of time on my hands where my brain wasn't working very well. And I just had to sort of be with it all. And as news from Florida came in, and as the Olympics were going on, I was really struck by how we were having such opposite ends of the human experience simultaneously showing up in time and in space. Sort of the best of who we are and the most challenging of who we are happening all together. So we breathe and we trust love. That's what we do. We keep coming back to love. We keep coming back to what these rings symbolize. This idea of peace, even in the midst of our differences, even in the midst of such separation and loss and pain and suffering, that there is this other possibility where North Korea and South Korea could walk into the rings together, that even exists. And we breathe and we anchor that. We trust love. I kept thinking about Howard Thurman, because I always come back to Howard Thurman. He's one of my touchstones. And I kept thinking, keep fresh before me my moments of high resolve. And I shared this with you last month. And it's in those moments as events unfold, like they did this week, that we are called to keep fresh before us our moments of high resolve, whether in fair weather or in foul. That we anchor the understanding of love. This is our calling. This is what we're here to do and to be. If we forget, what happens to everyone else who is struggling so hard to try and remember? So I shared this image last month, and I've really been sitting with it. And this idea of the balancing point, I called it the balancing point of the divine. This space where the heaviness and the worldly materialness that is life feels as if it's pulling us on one side, and the truth of who we are, the spiritual perfection, the essence of the light that we truly are. And there is this place, this space where the lightness that is this feather just balances all the rest of it. That is the space as we as spiritual beings having this human experience are called to anchor and to live into. But as I sat with all of this past week, I realized this picture is misleading. Because this picture seems to invite a sense of stasis. A space where it's static. A space where you sort of arrive at something and then you just don't move from it. And it'll maintain and hold itself in that position. So this image is actually misleading. Because that's not how it actually works. That's not how it actually works. There's a tension that is unfolding between these two seeming opposites. Between the seeming opposite of our spiritual being and the truth of our material time and space existence. There is a tension there. I like to call it dynamic creative tension. Because tension gets a bad rap. You know, we all talk about how we gotta get rid of our tension. We gotta let go of our tension. Well, honestly, if you ask any dancer or singer, if you let go of the tension in your body, you will fall into a puddle on the floor. We need dynamic tension to actually allow us to move forward, to actually be able to move through time and space. If we undo all of our tension, then we are actually stuck. We're stagnant. We're not moving forward. So this talk is about activating the vision. How do we activate that vision? And this idea of creative dynamic tension is central to our capacity to be able to activate the vision, the thing that is calling us forth, that within us that is ours to do, that is no one else's, that which we know in the depth of our being, in the core of our core, in the root of our root, that is saying, yes, this is mine to do. Elizabeth's book. Yes, this is mine to do. It was nobody else's to do because no one else could do that the way she did. That state of dynamic, creative tension. So we've been talking about the elements of manifestation, and that I've changed the center of it because we've been calling it the elements of manifestation. But really what we're talking about is the co-creative process, which is a process of dynamic tension. Because if you think about it, what we're asking you to do with all of these elements, naming and claiming your good, letting go of what no longer serves, being open to divine possibility, sharing your journey, and taking actual concrete steps. What we are asking you to do while you're engaged with all of these elements is we're asking you to do this thing. We're asking you to sort of pat your head and rub your belly and stomp at the same time and chew gum and blow bubbles. We're asking you to do all of these things simultaneously, and sometimes we struggle with it. Sometimes it's much easier to share our journey. And I know I've certainly been there. Woe is me. My journey is so hard. Listen to me tell you about my journey, Marty. Let me tell you how hard my journey has been. And we're not. And we've dropped a piece of it. We've dropped perhaps the being open to divine possibility. We've dropped perhaps the idea of naming and claiming our good. But we got that other piece going really well. Sometimes we're all about let go of what no longer serves. I'm just going to get rid of it. Just stop it. No more. It's done. I'm finished. I am done. But we're not allowing ourselves to really access what the possibilities are that are calling us forth. So as we navigate this co-creative process, we are being invited to actually stand in a place of tension. And you know what? That tension is so uncomfortable. We really don't like it. Remember Michael says, and this is one of my favorite quotes of his, he's got so many, but this is one of my favorite ones. You can't have anything in life that you are not willing to become in consciousness. Really, just laying it on the line. The thing that you want, you have to become it in consciousness. That is what is necessary. And boy, oh boy, as we are being called to become something, there's a lot of tension that shows up within us. There's a lot of pieces of ourselves that are resistant to whatever it is that we're being called to step into. And that tension is something that, unfortunately, all too often, we really want to resolve and make go away. That's right. We want the tension to go away. But the tension is the point. The tension is where the creative flow is actually happening. The tension is the space where true creativity is unleashed. So when you keep shifting into the place where you feel comfortable and releasing yourself from that uncomfortableness of the tension, you're selling yourself and you're selling the world short of what is possible. You can ask any singer, when you're singing in parts, in harmonies, your job is to hold your line. You hold your part. Harmony is about we want to resolve it somehow. We want to fall into the single line where we're all singing together. But harmony means that I'm standing in my line and you're standing in your line and the basses are standing in theirs and the tenors are standing in theirs, and what arises from it is beautiful and magical and more amazing than anything we could have done on our own. But when we are susceptible to releasing the tension, we all fall into singing one song. And that's not what we're here to do. That's not what we're here to be. We're here to create a magnificent choral arrangement, each of us singing our own line that is harmonizing and dancing and moving with everyone else's. So I call creative tension, this is what I'm calling it, when oppositional forces work together to expand our understanding of who we are and what is possible in our lives. They're seeming opposites, and yet when they are brought together, a synchronicity occurs that transcends the seeming oppositeness of them. And it's all about our being able to understand who we are more fully. It's all about us understanding that there is so much more possible in our lives. So much more that is available to us, that is accessible to us. That's what it looks like with no tension. It's just lying there, limp, flaccid, nothing happening. There are places in your life that I'm sure feel like that right now. And maybe there are places in your life where the tension shows up and you immediately seek to resolve it and to soothe it and to make it go away. And every time you're doing that, you are letting yourself off the hook from understanding more of who you truly are. And yeah, it's really uncomfortable. You guys might have seen this on Facebook. This sort of lit up Facebook this week coming out of Florida. And here is sort of a perfect example of the tension of opposites not being honored, not like one or the other. So thoughts and prayers gets X'd out. And policy and change is what we need.
Amen.
Well, what if we actually have it all? What if we actually have it all? Why are we so set on it being one or the other? Because it makes us uncomfortable. Because on some level, some of us are much more comfortable with thoughts and prayers, and some of us are much more comfortable with policy and change, going out in the streets and making a ruckus. But what we are all invited to is becoming the larger container, so that we are thoughts and prayers and policy and change. And it's not until we stand in that uncomfortable place that we are going to see real change happen on this planet. This is what we are called to be, what we are called to do. Martin Luther King has this quote, which just, I have been greatly disappointed in the white moderate, who prefer a negative peace, the absence of tension, to a positive peace, the presence of justice. Really take that in. Preferring the absence of tension over the presence of something. Because that's what we do all the time. Tension makes us uncomfortable. So where are you choosing the absence of tension over the presence of creativity, of newness, of the unknown, of what is unfamiliar, of what you have no idea is coming next for? Where are you so rooted in making it all okay? Keeping yourself safe, whatever that means to you. Because it means very different things to very different people. Where is that within you? Because it's all there, folks. Within each of you, there is a voice, there is a call to be the creative presence. There is a voice, there is a call that is saying, show up more fully. Show up and reveal the truth of who you are more powerfully, more dynamically. And it is more important ever. We have a gift here because we do have the thoughts and prayers. We have a central, foundational piece from which we cannot be moved. And there is a greater call that is asking us to be invited into. And yeah, it means we got to step out of our comfort zone. It means that we have to show up in a new way, not in reaction. I want to be really clear. Not in reaction. That we are always going back to the idea of where do we catch that divine idea of our life from? We catch it by being open to divine possibilities. And I can tell you that being angry and frustrated and pissed off is not a divine possibility. That is our human experience. So can we move from love? Can we truly trust love? Can we live from it? Can we breathe from it? Can we engage from it? Not just sitting on our cushion, but in policy, in change. How is that going to ask you to change? How is that going to invite you to show up differently? It is from the creative tension that we activate transformation and growth. If you are feeling stuck, if you are not sure why you are not moving forward, it is from the creative tension that you are being invited to grow, to change, to shift. Because you can't have anything in life that you're not willing to become in consciousness. I'm going to come right back to that. You have to be willing to become it. Not just dream about it. That's the first step. You have to activate it. Look at this. Yuzuri Hanyo. This is tension. This is dynamic, creative tension. If you watched him skate, that man was poised. And then he finished. And that was his, it was one of the most beautiful skates I have ever seen. It was truly just poetry. It was, all of it was this creative, dynamic tension. Nathan Chen, talk about, so here he is, if you don't know what happened in the Olympics, let me fill you in. So Nathan Chen was sort of the American hopeful for the men's, and he fell numerous times in his short program. He fell numerous times and had so many deduction points that he was ranked 15th going into the long program. And what did he do?
He nailed it.
He did 6 quadruple jumps in his long program. 5 of them completed perfectly. He went all for nothing. He didn't medal. It wasn't about medaling. It was about that dynamic creative tension within him that was saying, show up fully. He laid it out there. He was either going to fall or he was going to nail it, but he wasn't going to do triples. He was going to do the quads. It was amazing. Mireille Naguso, she nailed the first triple Lutz for a woman in competition. Look at her face. That was right after she landed it. Right? And then, of course, Adam Rippon, if you haven't heard about him, you should look him up. He has just become the darling of the Olympics. He's 28 years old. He can't do a single quad jump. It's not part of his technicality. He cannot do it. The men's competition is all about quad jumps, as Nathan Chen did 6. There was no way that Adam was going to actually be able to medal. And yet he showed up over and over and over again, fully committed, fully present, because there was something else that was driving him forward. And in that, America fell in love with him. Truly fell in love with him and his spirit. And then this story. So Alonia Sanchenko and Bruno Masset. So she has been in the Olympics 5 times. 5 times. And they finally won a gold medal. It was an incredible, incredible performance. This is them at the end of it, literally on their knees. This is what's possible when we activate our vision. This is what's possible for us, but we have to be fully in. You can't be sort of in. You can't be partially in. You have to be fully in. You have to lay it out there. So I'm going to close with this quote by the founder of the International Olympic Committee. The most important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part. The most important thing in life is not triumph, but the struggle. To spread these principles is to build up a strong and more valiant and, above all, more scrupulous and generous humanity. A better world can be brought about only by better individuals. I love that. The important thing in life is not triumph, but the struggle. It is, in unity terms, the creative tension. It is your capacity, your ability to live into that tension and to keep coming back to what you know, what you believe, what you trust. And what do we trust?
Love.
Love. And we keep coming back to it over and over and over and over again. Keep fresh before me my moments of high resolve. This is who we truly are, regardless of what is happening out there in the world. The world is within us. And as we engage with that creative tension, the places within us that feel separate and alone, and maybe a little crazy, and maybe a little lost, and we engage with the parts of us that know that we are connected, transformation happens, not just for ourselves, but for the world.